What do you got in your hand there, Jacob?
You know, I like to keep it between my legs. It's a peachy mango puff.
Brother, I'm not sure if you realize, but that is the first time anybody has ever seen this can, this flavor.
I
didn't realize we were going to have it on the podcast today. That makes this even more exciting.
I think you're actually the first one to officially crack a peach mango puff.
It's delicious. It's like, I was surprised. I was like, oh, energy drink at 8 a.m. I don't know about that. And I'm like, oh, that works.
Wait, that's prime time, dude. If anything, you're late.
Jacob's usually eating like 10 Snickers bars right now instead of
Twix.
Twix.
Yeah.
Twix.
That is the most bizarre engagement or interaction I've had with Jacob over the years and years of us working together. This man just eats Twix chocolate bars.
I'm not a big breakfast person.
In the morning. Then why?
I need the sugar kick, but I...
Okay.
It's a Danish baker in them, you know?
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into MangoPuff here. What's the actual name?
So it's peach. Okay.
Peachy mango
First
puff.
week,
Peachy Mango Puff.
it's peach mango puff. And then after a week, it becomes peach mango.
I know it sounds a little irresponsible that I didn't know that name without asking Joe of all people, but that can and this flavor has changed so much in the last 6 months that I can't even keep my story straight. But I'm telling you guys, gentlemen, if we thought that Cherry Slushy was a great launch, and then before that, Blue Raspberry, Peachy Mango Puff has got some serious weight and some kick behind it. Genuinely might be top 2 for me now. Just slightly edging out Cherry Slushy. And I'm going to drink one on this podcast. But we got a lot to talk about. So we're going to get all to the big topics in due time. But we've got the head of esports, VP of esports here, the official title, Jacob Toft Anderson, joining us just because Valorant is a hot topic for 100 Thieves, for the community more broadly, for my personal interest right now with how much I've been streaming the game. I know last episode we predominantly talked about Valorant, among other things. We're not going to talk about Dylan Dennis and Logan Paul again because I'll tell you what, you guys certainly did not agree with my comments on the last episode. But, you know, hey, everybody's got an opinion, dude.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll come out and say it. I'll alienate the entire audience right off the bat then. I agreed with every viewpoint you had, and I think he's despicable.
All right, well...
There we go.
Maybe we sub Jacob out.
Yes, man, Jacob. Yes,
Listen. No. We need to pander to the comments, brother. Yeah, yo, you guys brought up some really valid points that I'm a simp, beta male cuck. Completely agree.
I got a lot of... Joe, how are you so ignorant about politics? I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. All I know this guy's old as shit, all right?
The only thing I'll say, even though I just said I wasn't going to talk about it, that video of Nina talking about needing a sausage did make me slightly uncomfortable.
Starting to make sense, isn't it?
Well,
I got to say this. I am from Denmark, and Nina is from Denmark, so, you know, we got each other.
She's Danish?
She's Danish.
Yeah. English is our second language.
All right, well, we got this track star from the U.S. talking about world championships and how the NBA is not a world championship. You got somebody from Denmark now representing your entire country. How do we feel?
In the best way possible.
Okay, but, yo, last thing, too, on that point. I really wish we would have known before we filmed that episode because I had no idea what made me even angrier about the entire situation, or more angry. Doesn't angrier sound kind of like, nah, it doesn't work.
I thought both.
Sometimes they say funner instead of more fun.
Angrier is, I'm 90% sure, is the correct use.
You're making me more angry. Dude, that fight is not until October.
Yeah,
Brother, when we filmed that episode, I thought that the fight was that Saturday, like it normally is. You know, the press conference. Yeah. I know press conferences normally happen weeks or months before, but I had a brain fart. For whatever reason, with all that chatter, I thought that the fight was that coming Saturday. It's not till October. It makes me even more upset, angrier, more angry.
Blew his proverbial load way too early.
Yeah. Oh, Jacob.
It's just these Danish people, you know, it's in their vernacular. Can't blame Nina.
Jacob's primed and ready to go. Okay. Well, I would say to kick things off.
I'm actually Juvee and ready to go.
Nice, Jacob, you're firing today. I love it. Okay, I want to talk about Valorant and I want to talk about the guard, okay? We've got the head of Valorant Esports, the global head of Valorant Esports, Leo, who made a comment yesterday on the entire situation. Long story short, is the guard, they won Ascension in this past season, which automatically brings them up to the Premier League of sorts with the other 10 teams in North America. Mm-hmm. And this was Leo's explanation as to why the guard will not be competing next year. They won, but they will not be joining the franchise league and be playing at the highest level. Leo says, and I'm going to read the whole thing, even though I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen it. Hey, everyone, this situation is very unfortunate. None of us wanted this outcome. We designed Ascension hoping to see new teams and players joining our international leagues every year, and it's disheartening to see this happening in year one. That said, I want to share some of the details that led us here. Teams competing in Challengers knew what they were playing for since the start of the season. Every team that qualified for Ascension signed the team participation agreement prior to the start of the tournament, and signatures were held in escrow. I never heard of signatures being held in escrow.
We did too.
A very interesting caveat to just something I didn't know existed. Normally, it's only money when you're buying a house. It's in escrow. Or you're doing a big acquisition. It's in escrow. Immediately after the conclusion of Ascension, we started the onboarding process with the 3 winning teams, expecting them to release the signature from escrow to finalize the promotion to the International League. Unfortunately, this was never completed by the guard. After 2 months and several follow-ups, we had to make a very hard decision in order to not compromise the start of next season. We want great organizations to participate in our sport and therefore hold every candidate to high standards. Team structure and professionalism are what allow the VCT to provide amazing career opportunities for pros and development and growth of the sport we all love. We hold that bar high, both for partnered and ascended teams, and also offer them the exact same benefits. And then he put in parentheses, the only exception being a team brand and gun skin, which is only available for partner teams. Those benefits include a base stipend, financial incentives, prize pools, revenue share of the champion collection, and team-specific bundles. To address the particular situation, we considered 3 different options. We either allow these 5 players to be picked up by a new organization, or we promote the Ascension runner-up, or we don't promote any team at all. And they chose the latter, and here's the context as to why they chose the latter. With the way our Path to Pro is designed, it's fair to assume that a free agent team might eventually get to Challengers and even win Ascension. We want to see 5 friends and a dream making it all the way to the top, and we are prepared for that occasion. In case a free agent team makes it to an international league, the players would have an opportunity to find an organization that would support them in the international league. This particular situation is different, though, since the team that played through Challengers and Ascension under the guard banner and became a free agents after the fact. Allowing an acquisition by a different organization now opens the door for slots in the VCT to be sold, which we do not allow. The second situation we considered was promoting the runner-up M80. However, that was also would create questionable precedents. The point of Ascension is to reward performance, and as great and talented as M80 is, qualifying a team that didn't win the tournament defeats that purpose. Promotion is earned in-game, not out of it. And that point is what I want you guys to focus on, that last sentence. Let me read that again. Promotion is earned in-game, not out of it.
I mean, every reasoning that you brought up so far is bullshit, but please finish.
Whoa, okay. Oh. Goddamn. I was going to come a little more political than that, but all right. This is the last paragraph, and I know this has been long-winded, everybody, but I want to make sure that we had everything in front of us before we talked about it. We're very disappointed on behalf of the players who competed the whole season and won't be able to qualify as a team due to circumstances beyond their control. As painful as it is to make this decision, we have a responsibility to protect the integrity of the sport and will always do what's best for long-term. Wow. So
let's break it up. Let's start with the guard before we start really dissecting Riot and Leo's reasoning. I think, and this ties into Riot actually, I think everyone saw it coming that there is a likelihood of the guard not having the long-term investment into esports as a whole, and certainly Valorant, and that this outcome shouldn't be surprising, right? I'm not surprised. We've seen what's happening in Call of Duty, and we saw the guard lay off like 90% of their workforce back in April. It cannot come as a shock to anyone that this was a potential outcome. That Riot didn't prepare for that, questionable. Then for the first part of the solutions, I think it's just contradictory, right? There is such a long off-season, a whole nother topic that's frustrating. There's such a long off-season, and there is nothing suggesting that those 5 players shouldn't and couldn't go out and find a team to represent as free agents. The Guard has already allowed them all to explore free agency. There's no precedent for them suddenly selling the team. This is a very unique situation, and for all accounting purposes, they could just be regarded as an amateur team that now needs to find an organization. There's already plenty of organizations that, by the way, has passed Riot's vetting process that were ready and able to take them under their wings and continue into the VCT. We're not even in September yet as of recording. And even if Riot was worried about the off-season window, which is September 11th, this should prove to be far enough in advance for them to fix the situation, right? And that I don't even think whatever team would pick them up would want to make any changes. So even this off-season window date doesn't really matter much. And we're nearing September. Season starts in January. I don't get any of that reasoning whatsoever. If the Guard had held them to employment contracts, that's a different tale entirely, right? But the Guard isn't asking for anything. They're not asking any team for money. They're not objecting to allowing the players to go out and explore free agency, whether as a unit or individually. Like, the Guard is just withdrawn entirely. So there's no issue. There's no legal issue. There's no ramifications for Riot. There's no opening themselves up for potential lawsuits or anything of that sort. And then, sorry, does this keep falling down?
Yeah, I just got to tighten this up a little bit. No, you're good. You're good. You're good. Okay. Well, hold on real quick, Jacob, because I want to get my 2 cents in here as well.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. The Guard roster right now that won't be joining the international leagues, what 5 players is it entirely?
Valen, Trent, Tex, Net, and who am I forgetting? Jonah P.
And Valen and Trent were on the Guard last year, correct? Like the original, the Guard that the community knows and loves.
Yeah.
So is Jonah P too, right?
And Net.
And Net.
Yeah, Tex is the only, they replaced, I believe, Saya player, I want to say.
Yeah.
With
Okay.
Tex.
Listen, it's a very complicated situation. And I'll tell you what, with the Guard winning Ascension and EG winning the World Championship, it's Riot has not, they have not drawn a great hand because of precedents they've set. But both those teams financially are not in a good place. Irregardless of that, and irregardless of all the points that Leo made.
I've actually heard irregardless is not a word. But sorry, continue.
Irregardless of that, I'm still going to use irregardless.
Bang.
Bang. on your head top. Listen, man, all politics, legal agreements, structure, format aside, I think everything that Leo said was moot. As soon as he displayed the idea of the Valorant sport is earned in-game by the players. These guys, that 3 core group with Net, Valen, Trent, these guys at one point were on top of like the Valorant world.
They 13-0'd us.
They 13-0'd 100 Thieves, right? Can you imagine?
They blew up a roster.
They did.
The reason why I'm upset about the entire situation is just because of what the players have to go through now. There's, under any circumstance, can you have that group of players, one, they can't get into the league because of the organization that they play for. They have no control over that, even though that they were performing at the highest level time and time again, okay? Then that dream vanishes. It's gone. You finally get an opportunity to prove yourself against a million different teams in Ascension. I mean, you have to be playing at the highest level, performing at your peak individually, and have a million different things that are probably out of your control. Really what I mean is the other teams performing against you. They're all trying to compete for one spot, And you're telling me after weeks and months of scrimming and practice and preparation, and then you go and execute and you beat everybody. You had that dream snatched away from you. You worked your ass off. You made it back to this Ascension tournament, and then you win the whole damn thing. And you spend a month realizing that even though you had all these speed bumps, all these hurdles, all this just fucking pushback from the universe, and you came out on top, and you sit there with this dream finally has come true again, and then they wake up and find out that they're actually not going to be competing under any circumstance. Through social media, they found out and discovered that the dream has just been snatched out, the rug pulled out from underneath them again.
Awful feeling.
That's why I'm pissed off, because, look, if your dream about challengers and Ascension is you hope that 5 free agents randomly just strap up together and just win the whole damn thing, brother, it is inconceivably impossible for that to happen, because the way that it has always worked before there were even organizations a part of, I mean, this was at the same time as organizations were here from the beginning of esports in general, the best players rise to the top. And there's never going to be just a team of 5 players that are all championship caliber. At the end of the day, those players, one by one, get siphoned off to other organizations, other teams that are more established, and that is just how you've always come up the ranks. So no matter what I think Leo is hoping for through Ascension and Challengers, you're looking at that through rose-tinted glasses. That will never happen. And so what these guys have done is just, it is so tippable. I mean, they accomplished a feat that I don't think anybody would have expected them to, and now 2 times over, they have had the door shut on them. That's why I'm upset, because you can't say that these accomplishments and being in the league is earned in-game and then not allow them to navigate this with some sort of freedom, whether it's another organization coming in and allowing them and the guard players to represent them, or fuck it, Riot, just fund the team yourself for 1 year and then figure it out from there. There's no way you can tell these players that they can't compete in this next stage of Valorant competition. It's mind-blowing to me.
Just to play the devil's advocate on this, there is it does create a fairly bad precedent if Riot suddenly has to, quote-unquote, babysit these teams or put them on payroll. And
brother, I don't disagree with that. I'm just throwing shit at the wall. The whole point is Riot should be doing everything and anything that they can to allow these 5 players to compete together next year.
And I would say this, and it all ties together, right? There's so many things that influence each other in this whole debacle. But if the guard had proven wanting to keep these players on employment contracts, that's why Riot couldn't intervene. And then those players would, quote unquote, be shit out of luck, right? And I think it's a bit of a wake-up call where players need to think a lot about who they're getting into bed with, like namely organizations. And I think it goes to show that you shouldn't just sign.
No, man, no. How can a 17 or 18-year-old kid have any foresight or any insight as to what is the right organization? Bro, if you're 17 years old and you get on a call with somebody who is a snake oil salesman and is just selling the dream, brother, you don't have enough experience in life and in business in any capacity of your situation to have like a North Star.
No, I fully agree with that.
And then even like agents and management, a lot of times they don't have experience either, and they're at the will of the player. So if the player says, yo...
They should, by all accounts, have experience. And with the amount of money that's been invested into esports, this is no different than any other sport, right? Like, it is a dog-eat-dog world. It's predatory, and the sooner people figure that out and understand how to navigate it. I'm not saying it's perfect. It's just the way the world is. And so... it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that someone will always try and take advantage of a situation and put themselves in a better spot, whether it's organizations, players, agents, whoever it is. In any sense of life, really. It's not an esports thing. It's every aspect of life. So I'm just saying there's good organizations, there's bad organizations. It sucks that there's bad organizations, right? Oh my God. And I agree, in the Guards case, 2 years ago when these guys first signed on, you couldn't predict that a billionaire with the biggest sports team portfolio in the world wouldn't honor his word, wouldn't have the longevity in his organization the way he does in football and baseball and American football and so forth, right? So it's a really unique situation, and we're at the bottom of the financial esports industry right now as well. So everything's doom and gloom. But on the flip side of that, Riot also they should want to have organizations rather than a mix of 5 guys that just plays out of a dorm room or whatever. And the reason for that is there is a hell of a lot of things that goes into being a VCT team that isn't just on the players, right? So as an example, when our team goes to play, there is a whole company behind them, whether it's content and social media, the day-to-day operations and logistical nightmare of all of that, accounting, leadership, everything, right? And there's so much more that goes into operating a team than just being 5 guys and a coach. And with the requirements that there is to VCT teams in terms of deliverables and making sure that everything is flowing in the day-to-day, it's not tenable for even if they brought on a team manager or 2. It won't function. So Riot needs the organizations. The players need the organizations.
I know. Hold on. I completely agree with all those points. But what they're talking about, say in this dream world, there's 5 people, 5 free agents that come together, they win Ascension, and they get promoted. And Leo, in his statement, said that an organization would then pick them up, correct?
And that's what they should have just stuck to and allowed the guard players to do right now.
Theoretically, can they still be all picked up?
I would say so. Like, the only thing that hinders them from being picked up is Riot, right?
Yeah. Listen, the point that I'm trying to make is it is a very complicated situation. But no matter what,
think it is.
No matter what, Riot should be bending every bone, every muscle, every fiber of their being and their company to figure out how these 5 players compete together in the league next year. There's no other way. There is no other way.
There is.
No. Hold on. I want to finish this. I just cannot fathom just being in that situation as one of those players. Brother, they have sacrificed 3 years of their life for Valorant and for this competition that they have embarked on. And they do everything they can to get to this point, and it just ripped away twice.
I don't know if
twice.
That part sucks. And the idea of competing, I don't know necessarily if they really sacrificed 2 years of their life though.
What do you mean?
Getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to play Valorant,
brother. What does that have anything to do with it?
I think they would. I can't speak for the players, but if I were in their shoes, I would give all that up in order for me to have the shot at playing VCT next year.
Oh, certainly.
I'd pay it back if I could,
brother.
I'm playing devil's advocate here in the sense Riot, because this all boils down again to the fact that everybody's making their careers off Riot, and we're just beholden to them, and they time and time again just don't care about the players.
I don't think that's true either. I get why the public sentiment right now is that Riot doesn't care, but I think Riot more so than anything. I think really this is a misconception across esports that everyone hates on Riot and rags on Riot and whatnot. I think they're great for esports as a general note. I think what they've transformed, especially North American esports into in the past decade is great. I think the reason we've reached the highs that we have in esports is partially because of Riot. And I think they have done and are doing so much good for our space and our corner of the industry that I want to say that before I then go into the fact that
cover your bases.
No, but I genuinely believe that. I truly am super appreciative of everything that Riot has brought. It's just there are decision making, and there will always be. You make mistakes. There's it's a people ran business, and sometimes we'll just have to disagree on the outcomes. The problem is that when they do make mistakes, such as this one, that I think the entirety of the world thinks is a mistake, except Riot themselves for whatever reason, and they might have something that we cannot conceive or think of that is the reason for it. But because they have this monopoly and because they're the ones who own and operate everything, we as a community, even as partnership teams and whatnot, don't get to have much say on anything that goes on. We're just beholden to anything and everything they say, right? And then through public sentiment, hopefully we can make them more amenable to make sure that everyone in the industry is on the same page, players, teams, organizations, fans, everyone. But it is a problem that there is a rights holder that holds that amount of power if they can't be trusted to make the right decisions on behalf of the sport as a whole, right? And that is, I think this is a clear-cut example of that.
I want to go back to what you said.
Yeah.
You don't think the players for the last 2 years have been sacrificing their time and efforts and
No,
just
I
because
do.
they're getting paid? The
There's
reason
just a
why they're
lot of-
getting paid is
There's just
because
a lot of pro-player talk only, so I'm offering a different opinion. Just throwing it in there.
Well, brother, I'll tell you what. For you, who has never played professionally,
Exactly.
that's the issue here, is that there is ignorance around what these guys had to accomplish.
Yeah.
Just
Which
the
is why
sheer
I think
adversity that they
Riot-
had to face every single day. Odds stacked against them in every single way. You have hundreds of thousands of players that are trying to be in the position that they put themselves in through practice, teamwork, and just things going their way, rounds going their way, the tournament play going their way. But they competed and they won.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I think, we're still in the position where they got the door shut on them. So from Riot's perspective, like, they probably are looking at it as like, oh, these kids are still making a career off our game, regardless of whether or not they
Well,
get to
hold
compete.
on now, because we keep saying game, but as Leo continues to say, sport.
Sport. Yeah, sport.
And
but point being,
but they continue to like talk about inclusion and this is universally an opportunity for anybody and everybody that has a computer and can play Valorant.
that's what I'm saying. I agree that the players got fucked, but I just think that from Riot's perspective, like, I think there's definitely some arrogance tied to like their decision making, because clearly it's not about like serving the community and like doing something more than just using esports as a marketing and arm for.
But I
their
think
game.
there's a lot of honor in being able to recognize if you made a mistake, and I think Riot certainly has a lot of opportunity here to just go back on their decision. Maybe they had the best intentions going into it and just like thought that their hands were tied and they, for whatever reason, maybe there's internal bureaucracy or whatever, maybe they just didn't see a better solution, and now the public sentiment has gone against them to such an extent that now they've realized, oh, there's other ways of going about this, and maybe we should change the tide of things. I don't know. Like, I certainly hope that they'll change their mind, but maybe they won't. Leo seemed pretty set on that this is their perspective, even if I disagreed with his reasonings.
I think you got to know what the outcome's going to be if you shut the door on.
Look, at the end of the day, I spent a lot of time thinking about this last night, and for whatever reason this morning, my brain is not firing, cannot connect thoughts as eloquently and as articulately as I would like to. But I don't have anything other to say than the fact these players deserve to compete in the league next year. And everything else is irrelevant to me. I don't care what bureaucracy is going on. I don't care what lens they're looking at this through. I don't care anybody else's opinion. I truly don't. And whether you think that sounds ignorant or not, don't care. The 5 players, they fucking won goddamn Ascension. Get them in the league. I don't care how you got to do it. I don't care how you got to do it, bro. These fucking kids deserve to play in the league next year. There's no other way. There's no other conversation to be had here. I don't care about fucking money. I don't care about the organizations. I don't care about the fucking politics. They won the goddamn tournament. Get them in the league. It's fucking insane. It's insane. You know how hard that is for those kids? You want to talk about Valorant as a game, Valorant as a sport? Bro, they literally did everything you asked them to. Let them play in the league. Let the boys play. Let the boys play. It's insane.
Got tripped up.
I can't believe it. I truly can't believe it. Let the players play. They won. They deserved it. They did everything that you needed them to do. And just because the organization, the Kroenke family, pulls out a multi-billion-dollar sports ownership family, they decide this is not for them anymore. You're telling me that the will of a billionaire and your ability with the will of Riot, I know that things have gone ass backwards, but it doesn't matter. Figure out a way for those 5 players to compete in the league next year. That's it.
So we're a day after. They theoretically can all be picked up.
I believe that is the case. So in terms of discussing Leo's other point where M80 comes in and everything, and I know Matt has strong opinions on this, obviously. If the Guard had employment contracts in place with their 5 players that rightfully earned the spot, and Riot couldn't intervene with that because you just can't legally, right? So let's say that was the case, and now these 5 Guard players just cannot be promoted. Leo's comment is that M80 doesn't deserve the spot because they didn't earn it. But I do think there's something to be said for the fact that if the first run or the first place winner cannot make it for legal reasons or whatever else, why not the second place winner?
That's where I disagree. They lost. It's not their problem to worry about.
But they were the next best team.
None of this matters.
I'm just saying.
None of it is important. I don't care if I sound like a caveman. The 5 players won. Figure out a way to get them in the league.
I had to stay off Twitter.
Don't care.
I had to stay off Twitter yesterday because I was getting triggered by the fact that everybody was like, oh, so this whole season was for nothing? Like, what about M80 and everybody else? I'm like, you guys all lost the Guard. This is only about these 5 players and getting them in.
You just got to think of it as if the Guard, for whatever reason, these 5 players just cannot enter the league, right? Let's say they were in a legal bind with the Guard organization that wouldn't allow them to go play VCT. That could be an outcome. It's not reality, but it could have been an outcome. I do think there's something to be said for the runner-up being the next in line, just like a monarchy, the next in line for the throne, where
they don't need it.
Well, if the 5 players feel this bad now, can you imagine beating the shit out of M80 and then you're watching them compete instead of you next year? Guys,
we don't need an 11 team in the league. You know?
But I also disagree with that because
the participation trophy.
Then the comment about the longevity of the esport and everything, I think it's incredibly hurtful to the professional player base and the North American scene that has rightfully earned an extra slot, whether it's through the Guard or M80, who is the runner-up and also a North American team. There is 5 players, not the specific 5 players. There are 5 spots for player contracts, professional player contracts, that are now being removed from the North American scene for the next year, right? That is incredibly hurtful and taxing on the player base as a whole. It is a huge percentage of jobs. If you look at it, there's realistically 25 player jobs as is for North American / English-speaking players in the VCT circuit, and there was going to be 30, but now we're sticking to 25, whereas the other regions are actually adding, right? And there are so many players out there competing for and fighting each other out for a spot next year's season, only to have another 5 slots removed, let alone every job that comes around that organization and everything, is incredibly detrimental to North American esports. So
that's a fair point.
Again, I want to say this. I fully agree with Matt. I think those 5 players should be the ones getting the spot. But if they, for whatever reason, could not get that spot, I still think 5 other people or an organization as a whole should get it in their place. I think we got to think of the bigger picture here. And the bigger picture is everyone loses if we don't get a team in that spot. That's my take.
Man, I hear you. I get it, but at the same time, I don't. Just as a player, as somebody that competed before, I just cannot fathom what those kids are feeling right now. And that's what hurts the most.
Well, frankly speaking,
Brother,
it even benefits them, right? Like,
there's nothing about this situation that benefits them, to be clear. Guys, we're going down a rabbit hole, and these are, if we were really trying to analyze the situation, put ourselves in Riot shoes and put ourselves in the shoes of all the organization owners in the Americas and what is best, how do we handle this? I get it. And I'm definitely being a little bit of a brute with how absolute I'm being. I just think nothing else matters besides that these 5 players should be competing next year. Brother, Can you imagine? I just can't. 17 years old, and I'm one of the best players on one of the best teams in the league in 2021, just showing out, or 2022, just putting everybody in their place, winning tournaments, dominating on the international stage, and then find out that, oh, wait, because of Riot's new structure, I can't compete at the highest level anymore. But, oh, there's a new opportunity for me. I got to run it back. I got to go into this secondary league, this Challengers League, and prove that I'm one of the best players again. And mind you, we need to continue to reinforce the fact that these kids are so young. And then they spend an entire offseason practicing, putting a team together. Mm-hmm. The amount of hours that they spend in the servers, scrimming, day in and day out, with no idea if this will ever pay off. Yeah, and you could talk about that these players were getting paid by the guard or what have you. Doesn't matter. The reason that they're getting paid is because they proved themselves and they were in a position to be paid, which is the ultimate goal for a young kid who thinks, I can make professional gaming a career. And we can't hold that against them. So they spent another year putting this together, practicing day in, day out, 8 to 10 to 12-hour days. Then they finally get into this psychotic bracket where they have to do the same thing that they did last year. Now, again, versus hundreds of teams or tens. I don't know how many teams were competing in Challengers, but there was a lot. In best of threes in Valorant, bro, do you know how many things from all that preparation you have to go and execute, compete, and you need to be the best on every given day, every given map, every given round. And they did that time and time and time and time and time and time again. And they made it to the finals and they won it. And I know I sound like I'm repeating myself, but I just cannot fathom being in those kids' shoes right now. I would be so upset, so sad, so unbelievably hurt. And now we're sitting here talking about M80 potentially coming in or Riot and the reason why they did these things. None of it matters, bro. Riot's doing their best. I get it. The players need to be competing next year. Figure out a way to do it. It's insane.
Let the boys play.
Let the boys play, dude. What?
I think technically, I again fully agree with everything you're saying, obviously. But technically, even if the guard had come in, there's, as far as I know, nothing preventing the guard from just replacing the entire roster if they wanted to. So then we'd have the same problem, but differently.
I must be crazy, man.
I mean,
I must be crazy.
When the guard won,
it's got to be something I'm not seeing.
I'll tell you what. When the guard won, I think Riot was like, "Oh fuck, here we go." Because I mean, yeah, is the person at the guard still working that even knew that the signatures were in escrow? Like
I don't know.
Tripped them. All right, we don't have to get into this.
Yeah, I think we should move on either way. But yeah,
let the boys play.
Let the boys
moral
play.
of the story here. What do the 5 players say to the face?
God damn, man. I wish I could speak a little bit better today, but I got a little bit of brain fog. I had ammo last night.
I had ammo last night too. Then whatever. But I don't know. See, I just can't. This was the one day I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm gonna be ready to go. I'm gonna be reared up and I'm gonna be dialed in. But
I mean, this is so early for me, but the peachy mango puff is
yeah, man. All right, let's go on to a lighter topic. We got the peachy mango puff. We got a brand new can. This is going to be an exclusive on GoPuff for a short amount of time, and then we'll be re-releasing after the fact. But this will be exclusively available on GoPuff for a week.
Yeah. So Peach Mango Puff releases exclusively on GoPuff nationwide Tuesday, September 5th. It'll be Peach Mango Puff for a week, and then it'll still be available, but on 9/12, that following Tuesday, you'll be able to buy it on Amazon and are owned and operated and all that too.
Ladies and gentlemen, I used to slug back orange peach mango juice Dole straight out of Jewel Osco for any Midwest folks. I ran that. I would go through cartons of this. I don't drink juice much anymore, but
You ever have the Peach V8?
No, I never drank V8 because when V8 first launched, it was all just like vegetables, and I'm like, dude, I ain't drinking that. And then they started adding fruit. I'm like, you ain't gonna catch me. You ain't getting me. No matter what you try to tell me in here,
Vegetables
I'm not doing it.
Rebrand.
Vegetables need a rebrand?
Yeah,
all right,
yeah.
Jacob, you go work on produce.
Rebrand them M80.
M80.
Yeah.
The guard produce, man. But I've learned throughout the last year, really, since Juvee launched, that for whatever reason, it's really hard for me to describe taste. Okay, but I'm telling you, peachy mango puff. I don't know why I can't remember this. Peachy mango puff is electric.
Mango.
We went through probably 6 different iterations of peachy mango puff. The first one tasted like peach rings, straight out of a grocery store or 7-Eleven, the candy peach rings. They were amazing. But it just didn't have enough of mango. There wasn't a balance. And an exclusive peach flavor probably would have been fine, but the goal was to come out of here with a peach mango that serves both palettes of taste. Peaches.
Brought you some peaches.
And I'm telling you, man, we landed after 6 different iterations, and I feel like we finally landed in the perfect place. Peachy Mango Puff is here, and it's here to stay.
It's like LeBron when he went to the Heat. Not 1, not 2, not 3. Although, they didn't meet expectations, so maybe that's not the best analogy, but
they won. They didn't get 3, but they won. Guys, Peachy Mango Puff, I promise you, you're going to love it. If you like peach and you like mango, even if you don't, listen, Brooke AB, she don't eat fruit. She's terrified of fruit, but I'm telling you, she'd love this.
This shit's crack. I mean, It tastes like Trident Layers orange, but like more, blended and tailored to a drink format. But I think a big thing too, this is objectively my new favorite flavor, but part of that is like each flavor we release, like they're evolving, and they're iterating and they're becoming just better and better based off of how we feel about them, after drinking them a bunch, how much you guys buy of each flavor. And so I think each flavor continues to get better. The cans continue to get more unique. So this one's it's got a little more punch to it. And it's just great.
Peachy Mango Puff.
Boom.
We're out here.
Mango Blue Chew.
Hey, you know what? We should talk about a topic that we haven't discussed yet.
What?
Valorant.
There's so much to dive into. We haven't even talked about champs that just finished this weekend. There's also, I don't know if we want to get into that. There's apparently a lawsuit that involves one of our very own. I haven't talked to him about it. But.
Cryo sells an exit.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm gonna try to be a little bit more vocal. Or not vocal. I'm gonna try to be a little bit more of a host on this, or at least talk about my perspective of the World Championship real quick. EG, hell of a performance, man.
Crazy.
Nobody thought that team was even going to end up at the World Championships, and through us getting knifed by MIBR and like a 5-way tie, EG ends up making it to World Championships, obviously through their own play. But goddamn, as somebody who wasn't really watching a ton of other teams, I said this on stream, and if you guys watch the stream, I'm probably repeating myself, but prior to this World Championship, I really don't watch a lot of esports if 100 Thieves isn't playing. It's just because when you have something on the line and you're invested in a team or a player, if you watch traditional sports, you totally understand where I'm coming from, but it's just not as exciting to me if our team isn't competing. But with my recent Valorant re-addiction, I'm back on the rocks,
My boy
dude.
relapsed.
Rehab didn't work, brother. I knew I would need to clock back in because this game is just more addicting than anything I've experienced in my video game career. But now that I've been playing, I just decided, like, full stop, I'm going to watch some of these matches. Everybody asked me to do the watch parties. If I'm gonna be sitting there on stream, I'd rather be playing. But when I'd be off of stream, I'd watch the games. And I actually think what Riot, for all the things that they've done wrong in the last couple weeks, there's a lot of things that they've done right. The World Championship was amazing. Some incredible storylines with all the regions coming together. Mm-hmm. You got China, the UK, Brazil, fucking Vietnam, goddamn Singapore, everybody fighting it out, man. And that was definitely some like American geography perspective there.
Very nationalist of you.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. And I'm sorry, but our school systems failed us. And I got an excuse for everything. But these matches, brother, were just so good. Because what's crazy, too, about the different regions is that they have an entirely different approach about how they take a map on. Whether that's their composition between the agents that they're playing with, or how aggressive they are, how passive they are. everybody is doing something different. Like, I watched the Fnatic DRX match, and I watched DRX beat Fnatic 13-1 on Bind, and I think it might have been the best display of competitive Valorant I've ever seen. I mean, they were doing shit with Viper walls that I could have never anticipated. They were on defense, flashing through smokes with Sky, triple swinging. It was unbelievable, and it really just shows you, like, if you only play ranked competitive, like, solo queue Valorant, there is so much creativity that we're all missing out on because you can't coordinate with 4 random people that you get into queue with. And yesterday was actually my first experience 5-stacking with some players. And, you know, obviously we didn't really have a lot of coordination, but it was still fun to be able to, like, talk in game theory about how you're going to approach a round, and you're talking about just pattern recognition of what the other team is doing. No matter what, I just had so much fun watching that tournament, and I couldn't believe what I watched EG pull off. Like, their performances day in and day out, to lose to PRX in a very, very close best of 3, and then to play them in the finals once again. You know, that's a really hard task what's the phrase? Holy shit, my brain is not working. The task at hand after losing to a team in, like, winners finals is pretty daunting, and to have to know you got to play them in a best of 5. But EG was streaking so hard, they probably had all the confidence in the world going into that match, because a lot of the maps that they lost versus PRX were all OT. And that's the other thing. I think OT might need to be revamped a little bit in Valorant. It's just 2 rounds you got to win. Just feels a little coin flippy, but I don't know what the right solution is there. But that's another topic for another day. All I'm trying to say is that EG showed out, and they accomplished something that nobody ever thought they would months and months ago, and they deserve everything that came to them. Even seeing, like, Com's story about the night before they played the finals, I went over to his Twitter because a couple of those guys I hadn't really been following, and he dedicated that entire tournament and him winning one day to his grandpa, who's no longer with us. And then you've got Ethan, you know, obviously coming over for Counter-Strike, had some time here with 100 Thieves, and there were moments where I was frustrated with Ethan just because I think it limited on roster opportunities that we had in the past. But overall, I never held anything against the guy as an individual and his talent, and he turned into probably the best initiator in the entire world over this last year. You know, he had a stint with NRG, then made his way over to EG and just showed out. I mean, the guy looked literally unstoppable. The flashes, the information he would get for the team, the clutch situations, Dogamo with his fucking raise, just turn it up on everybody. Boostio, man, his interviews are electric. And a lot of guys, the night before, that when they lost to PRX, he said that I played like shit, but it won't happen again. I'm going to show you guys what I'm made of the next day. Bro, this guy was hitting shots, clutching up while he's an IGL. Bro, the amount of, like, multitasking and brain capacity that actually takes to like be calling for your team, and I'm sure he's got secondary help for Ethan, but to perform the way that he did in finals, I know Demon 1 was MVP, but Boostio could have made a case for it as well.
Com 2, Ethan 2.
That they just ran so many fakes, and their calls were just perfect. I mean, for us to be able to see, observing, like, what PRX was doing, it almost was like they had a broadcast up in the back pocket or somebody in the ear, because their timing was just immaculate. So just a hell of a performance, man. Like, I kind of fell in love with the fandom of PRX. That guy's something, running Reyna on fucking Ascent. Other maps too, where I'm like, wait, hold on. This guy's running. Did he have Reyna on Split? I think too. Something, or maybe it was Jet. Either way, like, Reyna out of nowhere, I'm like, holy fuck, this guy's dunking on people with an AWP.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it. And his DPI, bro, he plays on like 1600 DPI, like 0.4. He is wild. I don't get it. But and then Jing, is that? Hopefully, I'm pronouncing his name right.
That's how I've been doing.
Probably his last tournament, because he's got to go to required military contract for his country in Singapore. Man, it would have been a great story for him to win, but, you know, either way, just a great world championship.
It's great.
The competition is just getting better and better and better. And the last thing I'll say before I let you guys go, because I know this has been really long-winded, but the fact that we had Ascend win, Loud win, we had Fnatic win the last 2 tournaments, and now EG and America's team win the World Championship, there's so much parity in the league, and it just makes me so excited for the future of competitive Valorant because...
And China being highly competitive already. That's scary.
Well, that's the other thing that I didn't really understand is if Valorant wasn't released, and ignorance here, I should know, but China, it wasn't released. How did they have Chinese teams at championships in the past? I don't...
Well, now you're just making me look bad. I should know. I think they've been playing on like Singapore servers or something. I don't know, actually.
Okay, great. All right. I'm glad that I'm not the only idiot in the room.
China.
Thanks, Joe. Great contribution. So I'm just excited for the future. This new map, Sunset, just came out. It'll be in competitive queue in a week. Who knows? Time will tell if the map is any good. But the changes to Breeze, I played him yesterday, are going to foster like a new era of competitive lineups for this next year. I'm glad Fracture and Pearl, hopefully those both get reworked to all hell because there is no hope right now for those maps to come back, in my opinion. But I'm just excited for the future of competitive Valorant and the teams that we're going to watch battle it out.
Is Breeze in the comp pool already?
It is. I played it. Yeah,
okay.
It is.
Fuck yeah. Right,
the changes are money. I think it's good. It used to be a very T-sided map, but now it's defense heavy, in my opinion. But fuck, bro, that's coming from a hard stuck Ascendant, average gamer, small brain.
Yeah, it was a beautiful event. Just to chime in on all the storylines, obviously EG coming from 0 to hero throughout the year. The individual storylines, I think Ethan put out the tweet about all the losses you have to endure in order for you to learn and grow, right? Ethan had a rough season for NRG last year. So for him to bounce back to the level of skill that we know he has, and he had in Counter-Strike and he had for us as well. The comms story, I think, is especially cool. Back when they banned BCJ, I think there's a lot of community sentiment around the fact that it should have been calm. And then for him to go on the biggest stage at the most pivotal of times and just continuously show out, be the most clutch player of all time, just spectacular performances. Really shot up all the critics. Beautiful. It's hard not to root for the Evil Geniuses guys.
Every time Com would clutch on the YouTube live stream, the chat would just spam Com every time.
That really got Joe going.
I was like, all right, I shed on the 12-year-old Valorant community like last week, but this gives me hope.
Bro, that 1v2 he had versus PRX, I actually don't think that was the finals, but when he ran up mid-map, like just knife out, sprinting, and then I thought he overflicked for a second, but got that second kill. That was just a wild play call.
I think it was against Loud, the Odin clutch he had with the classic from Boat.
No, I was talking about when he was in a 1v2. And okay.
Dude, that guy has a whole highlight reel. Him and Demon 1 both, obviously. Demon 1 coming in mid-season. Everyone knew he was like a demon, no pun intended, a demon on the ladder and in scrims. But for them to then give him the opportunity and him to just have like the sickest headshot percentage I've ever seen, doubling most people, and over 100 kills per series, and it was disgusting.
Brother, what
a guy.
That guy plays on such a slow sense, but he makes it look so fast. It's so bizarre to me. He plays on 0.2, 800 DPI. I think he plays on 1600 DPI, but 0.1. Brother, he looks like he is cracked out of his mind. Something ain't adding up in my head.
I love the obsession with the sensitivity.
Yeah, you're really getting into technicalities.
Well,
you're Moneyball Mike for player sensitivities.
Well, it's so fascinating to me how everybody could be playing on such a different level of comfort and with their sense, different mouse pads, different mice.
No, I agree. I
just elite aiming and centering. It's pretty.
He's got some moxie too.
Yeah. Oh, bro, that final interview he did. I'm the best fucking player in the league. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what I can't remember exactly what it was word for word, but bro, what a statement, bro. He did not give a fuck.
No.
And then last but not least with EG, I'm a sucker for the situation. Potter.
Shout out Potter.
Brother, that's the first time I think I've ever seen a woman be a part of a tier 1 esport world championship or even major championship. Not from like a woman being involved with an organization, but being the head coach for this team. And she got so much slack earlier, whether it was this year or last year.
Earlier this season.
And to be up against some of the best minds in Valorant and help bring that team a world championship.
Yeah.
Unreal. And her interviews were amazing too. She's so well spoken. Yeah. I was just floored by the entire thing. I was blown away.
She actually started the inception of that lineup as a player herself, playing in a mixed team with Boostio.
That's fucking sick.
So that's how EG started 2 years ago when
we needed 30 for 30 on Potter. For real. Shout out Potter.
Yeah.
And lastly, shout out our old head coach for League of Legends, who was the assistant coach on Evil Geniuses.
Let's go, Zix.
Tony Six. That spectacular. Changing games, such different games too. And then, Tony has won the LCS, not for us, but for CLG once upon a time. And for him to then go on and win the World Championship in Valorant, I think that is an accomplishment in esports that really deserves a lot of recognition and praise.
But he dunked on everybody.
Huh?
He dunked on both communities. Are you kidding me?
Multi-game world champ.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Are we going to talk about 100 Thieves Valorant?
If you want, yeah. Happy to.
Do we need to?
I mean, we can do it next week as well, or the week after, once we have more to talk about. I think just to draw a bit back to the whole the guard and situation and everything, there's an off-season underway, obviously. There's only... Assuming that the South American teams are recruiting predominantly or only South American players, and the North American teams are recruiting North American players, there are 25 spots for players, right? There would have been 30.
25? Or 10 teams? Am I crazy?
I just explained that there's 25 for the North, 25 for the South.
Oh, yeah.
You do this every week with this guy?
Wait, but hold on.
We're world United States world champs, baby.
We got Brazilian players.
I only think in these borders.
We got Brazilian players playing on these 5 NA teams. What's to say that they won't go play for one of the Brazilian teams? I know, I'm sure. It's
just averaging outright,
Joe, you're right.
So... and there's so many talented, capable players in all aspects in all parts of the world, obviously. But just talking about North America, so it's an interesting time with the Guard no longer being a part of the ecosystem in the VCT. That makes it even more competitive for the players to land a spot on these teams, right? So we're going through all of that. We're turning leaving no stone unturned. We obviously have a perspective on which direction to take the roster, but this is our job, right? From a management and a coaching perspective, it's our job to leave no stone unturned and really do our due diligence, look into every imaginable option that will put us in the best position next year.
I don't envy your position, Jacob.
Jacob the Stonemason. Stone's over.
There's a lot of times where I think back on 100 Thieves history and I think to myself, man, I wish I would have had a stronger opinion on this roster or this player, yada, 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 and say, hey, my way or the highway. But it's ignorant for me to think as somebody as successful as Jacob has been in not only his playing career, but as a GM and just overall management, I'm like, this is what he does 24/7. This is the only thing he thinks about. This is his expertise. Why would I ever veto him on something that I just think as like a knee-jerk reaction or recency bias when I see somebody play on stage? I'm like, oh, we got to get that guy. And I think back on those times, I'm like, man, maybe I should have had a stronger opinion. But in situations like this, where I love all 5 players that we have, to hear you say that no stone needs to go unturned, I completely agree. Just from a competitive offering, like what are we going to look like on stage next year? And does the roster we have today, can they beat teams like PRX? Can they beat EG in their current form? And I don't know the answer to that question. I think all 5 players have the ability to play at that caliber. I don't think anybody's that different. But yeah, you got to go and do your homework and see what the best fit is. And maybe it's 5 players sticking together. Maybe it's one leaving and somebody else coming in. I don't know the answer to that question. All I know is that I love our team and the personalities that have been fueling our content, our highs, our lows on stage. Those are never easy to deal with. And they're not easy to deal with the players. But esports is tough. There's a million players that are ready, revved up, ready to go, try to take an opportunity and run with it. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But Jacob's only goal is to put the most competitive and the best iteration of a roster that he can put together for the 2024 season. And I think he's going to do everything he can to make that a reality.
Look, you take bets and you're going to fail often, clearly as seen by our season across various titles. Last year we did great. But at the same time, like sometimes a fairy tale like Evil Geniuses happened, right? I don't think going into the season anyone except for the Evil Geniuses themselves had much conviction that would be a roster that would end up winning a world championship. And I'm sure even they would, at the start of the season, question whether that was at all in the cards. Maybe success for them was qualifying for the world championship. So when something like that happens, revisionist history will have you look back and say, why the fuck didn't we look at X, Y, and Z, right? Like, why didn't we sign Demon 1? Why did we let Ethan go? All of these things, it's very easy to be a hindsight Harry, but it's just the way it goes in sports.
How hard is it to win in esports?
I think it's super hard, and then, but at the same time, I've won a lot in my career across different titles.
Legend.
So,
what's up, Beast?
Shout out Malk, baby.
No, but it is super hard because then.
So it was really hard for the guard to win in challengers, and now they don't get to play.
Milk me.
Damn, you really look.
Dog, I'm tizzed out on this. I'm upset.
Yeah.
Well, player owner, baby.
Have you signed the petition?
This is the start of it.
Yeah.
At least for mine.
Okay, I have a question too. I think just for the audience sake, I would imagine people are wondering, coming off the heels of Call of Duty and the state of esports, what's that landscape looking like for Valorant? Because it is different.
Frankly speaking, in a lot of ways, it's the same, right?
Yeah.
So we had this conversation, what is that, 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, around Call of Duty on this very podcast. Shout out John Robinson, where we discussed specifically the financials around esports. And the reality is that Valorant is in the more or less exact same boat, where we have to be incredibly mindful of our budgeting and making the most of every dollar, right? And so we already went through the COD off season. I think that has sort of served as a heads up to our Valorant guys and our league guys down the road when that off season really kicks off. But the reality is, it's not us down prioritizing Call of Duty. It's us putting equal emphasis on every title. Meaning, for Valorant, we have to do the same exercise as we did Call of Duty, and I think most of the other teams are as well, right? Like the esports winter, whether we like it or not, is still cold as hell.
Yeah.
So
Bars.
it's just that being said, like, I can see that there's already a sort of an understanding and an expectation among the professional players and their agents that years past are not representative of the coming seasons, right? And so they understand that the contracts aren't what they used to be. And I think most importantly for all of them is that they want to compete next year.
Yeah.
And they want to compete on the, every player has different wants and needs. But
every kiss begins with K.
Malk.
Milk.
Milk me.
Milk me, brother.
I saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles last night, and they
Oh,
kept
yeah?
making jokes about them getting milked or like their blood drawn. So.
I haven't seen it yet. No
but-
spoilers.
But my point being, when I mentioned
Coconut milk.
yeah,
Almond
2% milk.
Goat milk.
I sincerely hope we edit this out.
milk.
Yo, you could have so many IGNs. Coconut milk.
I'm changing my
Minute milk.
But
Every time I came back from holidays, I would be strawberry milk because I'd be
Strawberry milk.
scolded. My body would just be so burned from the sun.
Well, you got fair skin. You got to put on that suntan lotion, man.
Yeah, shut
You
up,
need
skin
like
cancer.
SPF 1,000,000.
Yeah.
But when I mentioned, to clarify too, because I said things are different, what I meant was not that and you corrected me in saying we're not overemphasizing Valorant over our other titles, but have we seen a bit of a market correction already within
Absolutely.
Valorant?
Absolutely.
Right. So we're able to still. Actually, go ahead. Sorry.
We're getting to a healthier spot where I think the understanding part was what has been the hardest part of my job over the past 12 months, right? It is no fun calling up player after player, agent after agent, telling them, hey, you're used to this. Like, no one wants to take a pay cut, right? I don't want to take a pay cut. You don't want to take a pay cut. The guy working 7-Eleven doesn't want to take a pay cut, as he shouldn't. No one wants to take a pay cut, right? And so to call up players and agents and have those conversations before they might even have realized that there's an esports winter looming was especially tricky. So
If you don't know, now you know, baby.
oh, for sure, and they know now. And so now
Don't ask for us no money, man. We ain't got it. You ain't getting no bag from us, dude. You come here for some passion. We got lots of that.
yeah, and that's actually so that's what makes
and
the
milk.
the
Passion's
off-season,
almost as good as cash, right?
it's actually what makes the off season pretty interesting and cool in that you get to see who really wants it for the competition and for the brand and for the fans, and who's more chasing a bag.
Who wants to play for the name on the front and not the back, dude? That's what we want here. You like that?
I like that. I had to think about it for a
I
little
stole
while.
it. What are you sign languaging over here, Wally? What's going on? Why are you shaking your head no now? You were doing something.
Tony's Pizza.
Tony's Pizza.
What's going on?
What's the problem? Oh my God, what a day. What a day. All right, we'll save 100 Thieves Valorant for another time when things are a little bit more set in stone.
Yeah, everything's up in the air right now, I would say.
Breeze is back. Fracture and Pearl out.
Shout out Elon. Shout out Ben Affleck.
Yeah, Ben Affleck and Elon Musk being there were not a part of my bingo book, and I wasn't sure if that was like a paid opportunity, if Riot just had an executive who is family friends with both of them and was asking as a favor to show up and show out. And there's a world that was real, but then all of a sudden, Ben Affleck and his kids are talking about he's a KO main, he knew about the jet nerfs. I'm like, either their PR team is unstoppable and they know exactly how to feed this guy, or he actually knows something or a little something about Valorant.
I read that his kid is a massive gamer.
I love Ben Affleck. Do you guys know the artist James Taylor? He was really big in the 70s. And
No, we don't listen to country.
in my mind,
There
I'm
we go.
gone to Carolina.
I just knew it was country.
How sweet it is to be loved by you.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a great song.
I don't think it might not be him originally that wrote that. I don't know.
JT.
Down in Mexico, I don't know anything, but I just wanna know. Okay,
You gonna release an album?
doesn't matter. I have like a vintage James Taylor T-shirt because my uncle used to play him in the van, and that that was obviously before Shazam. Yeah, he had a van with no windows, but he was a carpenter, so it made sense. But we rode in the back, so we wouldn't come out for days. Long story short, he used to play James Taylor in the car, and I never knew who it was until my like early 20s when I was just listening to random playlists, and then I heard it and like a light bulb went off. I was like, I unlocked a memory I didn't know I had. So then I went dive headfirst into James Taylor and had a lot of his songs just like on repeat, bro. Spotify rewind, cue it up again. And I was streaming the other day, and some kid in my chat came in. His name was like Kenny Taylor. I can't remember the name exactly. He's like, yo, Nate, are you a fan of James Taylor? Because I was wearing the vintage T-shirt. And I'm like, yeah, I love James Taylor. He's like, oh, that's my dad. I'm like,
No
wait, what the fuck? Hold up, bro. Wait, let me. I alt tabbed out, VIP'd him in the chat, started playing James Taylor, just went on this fanfare, love, affectionate relationship with this kid for like 5 minutes on stream. And then all of a sudden I see the rest of the kids in the chat. They're like, yo, he's only got two kids and his name is like Rufus and Harry. I'm like, wait, what's going on here, brother? He's like, well, my dad's name is James Taylor. So this guy completely found a loophole.
Hold up.
Ain't you Nathaniel B?
No.
No relationship to the songwriter and singer James Taylor, but I'm like, brother, I got. So you're going to keep that VIP, and now I'll have a story to tell for a very, very long time.
I really want to go to
Shout out James Taylor.
a country music festival with you. With the whole getup and everything. We put on the hat, boots, everything. Just like 1 or 2 days of just pure country fun.
You want to get a little mud on the tires?
Sure, whatever that means.
I've got some bit. No, that means exactly what it. Very literal.
Oh, okay.
Brad Paisley's got a great song. Let's get a little mud on the tires.
Look, it's not my
a
ballpark,
good
but I think it'd be hella fun
night
to do with you.
to be out in the moonlight.
I got one song I like.
Baby, lock them doors and turn them lights down low.
Good
kind of
for
music.
two things.
I love the
Blue
US of A. I like drinking beer with my friends.
I feel like with AI, it could sort of correct your voice and you could release an album.
My voice needs correcting?
No,
You don't think
just
I'm
like-
the songbird of the century?
I don't. I
Drop
wouldn't-
that Midwest accent. There's hope for me too. I'm trying to work it in as well.
That Midwest accent's never going to go away.
Amazon. Milk.
I got to be honest with you.
I need some milk.
Thank God there was a lot of news in Valorant because I have not looked at anything other than the pixels on my monitor inside Valorant. I have no idea what's going on in the world. I had no other topics planned for today. I got no clue.
That Wagner guy crashed his plane.
What?
100T Higround DBZ
In
drop.
Ukraine?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Well,
I
in
never.
Russia.
The Wagner Group. Yo,
Oh, yeah.
listen. Actually, last night I started, did not finish because we go to bed at 9 o'clock. It's really starting to annoy me lately, but
Good.
You're the biggest proponent of going to sleep.
no, I know,
at
I
night.
know, I
You're
know,
30
I know.
years old and you're going to bed at 9 p.m.
No,
That is
All that
just-
Valorant, he's starting to hit those demon hours, you know. Get that late night
Bro, I
stream when
played
everybody else
5
is
team
off.
deathmatch before I came here, brother. I was beaming.
I haven't even had dinner at 9 p.m.
Look, my point, what I was trying to bring up is that Indiana Jones was finally released on Apple Plus for purchase. I bought the movie. We started it. And can I just say, The Irishman with Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro, they did this technology where they made him look younger, but holy shit, did it not look good. I mean, I think it's because we've seen Robert De Niro in so many movies. They changed his eye color. Everything that they were trying to do just did not land for me very, very well. Still love the movie. It's long, but
By union? Sorry.
Al Pacino, there you go. They made Harrison Ford young for the first 30 minutes of Indiana Jones, and I was blown away. I'm really excited. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on with SAG and the writer's strike, and people are really afraid, at least in the entertainment industry, actors and actresses, and not being represented properly in the future because of AI and Disney and Secret Invasion, them Marvel using AI to make the intro. There's a whole list of problems there that I'm not going to dive into, but for what it's worth, if they can get that shit figured out, Harrison Ford, I couldn't believe it was seamless, man. I truly believe that was Harrison Ford in his prime. It looked no different to me. It was, I couldn't believe it.
You're an AI stan, slurping up to our future overlords.
Look, man, I think it's really misguided for us not to think that we shouldn't use AI to improve our life in some capacity or another in the future. Like, yes, is it a slippery slope depending on what industry you look at and just humanity as a whole?
Yeah.
Which it's above my pay grade and the
Boston
impact it will have.
Dynamics.
But for me watching Harrison Ford primetime, 30 minutes of the first act of Indiana Jones' new movie, it was electric, dude. It was so good.
But you only watched first half of it.
Because we went to bed.
Oh,
Haley wanted to go to. We actually went to bed at 8:30. We were in bed at 8:30, but got a good sleep score this last night. I got an 81, which was good.
I don't know what that is.
I've been tracking my sleep, which has been really it's like if you have stomach problems, right? Tell you to do an elimination diet. Just start removing stuff, see if it gets any better, which takes a lot of time. It's just like a very arduous process for me because I don't eat a lot of different foods. But with sleep, it's pretty cool that I'm tracking it now with my Apple Watch and my Oura Ring. And I can just tell how different my mood is and my energy levels and how my brain's firing depending on the score that I get.
So you got a good sleep score, but you showed up with brain fog.
You know what? I don't actually think it's brain fog. It's more so I'm just having a hard time. I think you being here, very thoughtful with your explanation. It was actually very helpful for the conversation to see both sides of it. But if I am being honest, I would actually love to like look back at Leo's statement because I had a lot of points that I brought up to myself last night. And I just couldn't get it all out with everybody else talking, which is, it's no harm, no foul. But for me, the sleep track has been great because I've been eliminating things at night. Like, oh, I'm not going to eat an hour before bed. Oh, I'm going to try not to have a ton of sugar today. Like I gave up, I only had one Coke in the last like 14 days, which I'm pretty proud of. So trying to figure it out. Track your sleep, man. Kind of interesting.
I'll try it.
I've been having terrible sleeps with no AC still.
Oof.
Brother, you know it's going to be a high of 90 degrees today? You're fucked.
It's just been
Come
like
bunk
that.
up with me, man. I got AC pumping.
It's very kind of you.
Come on over, dude. Just don't look me in the eyes.
In Denmark, we have an expression for when someone goes to sleep in between two other people. We call it the butterhole.
The butterhole?
The butterhole. So I just picture Joe getting all cozy in between you and Haley.
Then we're buttering up somebody's hole, or
Gary and Murph's hole.
It's a whole
don't
thing.
disrespect them.
We have in Denmark we have this porridge that we eat for Christmas that we
It sounds delicious.
we
porridge.
put
What is
butter
a
in the center of
what
it,
is
and that's
porridge?
called the butterhole. And then somehow that got translated into the boudoir.
The boudoir.
Yeah.
Is Foundation the show that you've been loving on Apple TV?
Love it.
I'm like 6 episodes in right now.
Brother Dawn, Brother Day, Brother Dusk. Foundation.
Which one do you think you are? Are you
Well,
OG?
Your brother,
OG
your
Dave.
brother Day for sure.
You're OG Dave for sure.
I don't know, man. Depends on which personality's coming out that day.
What's the show about?
It's basically it's like thousands and thousands of years in the future, and there's something called the Empire, which is basically like the most dominant
I've seen Star Wars.
civilization. But the guy who started Empire basically set in stone that they were just going to genetically clone himself, and at all times there's going to be Brother Dawn, who is the youngest version, who's going to be next up to be Brother Day, who's current version, leading everything. He is the captain of the ship, the king of the castle. And then the former, who's Brother Dusk, who's, you know, the old Dusty of the versions of themselves. So
It's like the advisor mentor.
and then you have a group who's trying to dethrone Empire, and they're like mathematicians, and they predict the future and events that are going to happen hundreds of years from now. And the show shows hundreds of years. It spans over the course of hundreds of years about those predictions. They travel through space. It's fucking awesome.
It's basically like when all the charades around the world ending in 2012. It's like if we actually like maybe believe that, and then society just unraveled.
We've talked about it a million times. A lot of people that read the books don't like it because they don't think they've done a good job. But without reading the books, ignorance is bliss. And I actually think it's probably one of my favorite sci-fi shows I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's great.
I think it's great. And season 2, it was normally hard to follow up. Such a good season 1, I think, has been delivering on all accounts.
Boom. Foundation.
Boom,
Okay.
on your head top.
I'll give it a
Butter bowl.
I'll give
Butter
it a look.
hole.
Butterhole.
Porridge.
Also, shout out Hunter T Apparel and Higround Dragon Ball Z release.
Yeah,
today.
when this episode films or releases, I'm sorry, we just dropped our collaborative collection. We got like 5-6 different Higround keyboards and mouse pads. They introduced a brand new performance keyboard, which uses magnetic switches that allows you to change the actuation point on each individual switch. And I told this story to Rustin and Ka, who are the co-founders of Higround. Timmy was a really hard sell for us when we first started talking to him about Higround, because his dream at that time was always to be sponsored by Logitech. This is for people that you guys have never seen, like a behind the scenes, how these conversations normally go. But Higround was a new brand, and I obviously had a ton of conviction because we made the acquisition, but their keyboards from the level that it could deliver at from a performance standpoint and technology, it was a bit behind, but that was because these guys started Higround out of a van with just 2 guys, and we acquired them. They started to grow, had more resources, and now with how hard it was to sell Timmy on where we were at that point, I shit you not, bro, I had chills when we had the 100 Thieves block party. And shout out to the events team, marketing, everybody really at 100 Thieves who put on an incredible event. I came here for a couple hours and I was blown away, but I digress. With Timmy, when I walked into the block party, this guy came up to me and was as spry as a baby fawn running through the woods looking for his mom or something. I don't know. You can probably think of another analogy for spry. That was not my
when he
best.
has his Snickers in the morning.
I got to get to the fucking point. I'm sorry. Timmy was over the moon about the performance keyboard. Unsolicited, didn't even ask him about it. He brought it up. He's like, yo, are you using the performance Dragon Ball Z keyboard? And I'm like, no, why? Joe brought it over, but I haven't fucked around with it yet. He's like, it's like cheating. You're cheating. Like, you counter-strafing in Valorant, you want to stop on a dime, you have a competitive advantage with this keyboard. So I was like, wait, let me get mine updated. I did it the next day. This thing is unbelievable. But the Higround DBZ and then 100 Thieves apparel was incredible. I will give you guys a little bit more insider information. It has been a little difficult for somebody who used to have dreams of doing a Kamehameha in the hyperbolic time chamber, Dragon Ball Z. I'm a super fan. And if you had told me 7 years ago that we would have a collab together, I would have told you were crazy. This is a dream come true. And the apparel that we released, I'm very proud of it. But it's been tough for me mentally just because, we approved these things a year ago. So I've been sitting here waiting like 12, 14, 16 months, a year and a half to finally release what you guys are seeing today. And I'll tell you what, you're only getting half the collection. I can't go into further detail. The tough part about doing collabs with different IPs and licenses is that they have ultimately all the control about how their image is represented, which is absolutely fair, as they should. We don't own Dragon Ball Z. This has been around for decades. Like, it's not our place to tell them how it should be represented, but we were really, really close to getting some wild product approved, something that you would have never seen, not only from us, but in many, many places, almost all places in the world of fashion. And I do not say that lightly. I was so excited for this, but at the last second, things kind of just fell apart. But for what we have to offer today, I think it's still an incredible, cohesive drop. And the marketing team, both on Higround and apparel, they did a fantastic job of seamlessly integrating all the products into the photo shoot. And then shout out Francis and the entire team that worked on the brand new website, because you're going to be able to buy all products basically in like one landing page from both brands. And so I'm really excited to see how the drop goes today. But it is a little bittersweet knowing what people could have been seeing today compared to what they're getting. But either way, the product's fantastic.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Good shout out, Joe. Good job.
Thanks.
And then go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to touch on the block party, the summer block party.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. And here's a controversial take. I was pulling up, my girl was dropping me off, and she makes the stereotypical comment of, can't wait to see 500 nerds in line. And I'm like, you came to the right place. But then we pull up.
What the fuck?
No. Let me get to the point here.
I hope you do.
Because, I've been to a lot of esports events throughout the years. I've been in this game over 20 years now.
Can't imagine what those Dota events looked like back in 2002.
There's a clip of me at the International. I'm sitting on the analyst desk and I'm calling people out left, right, and center. I'm saying, you all smell, wear deodorant. Disgusting. I was not brought back on the panel the following year.
You might not be brought back on the podcast.
Yeah. My point is, there are a lot of sweaty nerds out there. But I pulled up and I was surprised. And this just speaks volumes to our community. Everyone looked fresh and fit as fuck. Great turnout. Our fan base, much cooler. Our community much cooler than the average nerd. Okay, go in. We're at the block party. I'm having a good time. I'm having beers with everyone. Juvee, food, everyone. It just seemed like it was just a great gathering of people. And you could have fooled me. I had no idea that we were at a gaming event. This is cool.
Yeah.
It's like a complex con.
100%. I said this on stream though. There's a few people that I think were disappointed that they weren't able to get a signature or photo with me, which I'm flattered. I truly am. I like I said, I talked about it on stream, but for people that felt like they were burned because I didn't get to see everybody. I was there for like 2 hours. I'll tell you what. This is just me being completely transparent with you guys. Although I've matured quite a bit, and I'm definitely not as socially awkward as I was when I was like 16 years old, I still have a really hard time with big events that have a lot of people. That's why I don't go to concerts. That's why I don't go to a lot of parties anymore. And I couldn't tell you how many parties I've been to in the last like 2 years. For whatever reason, I feel like I've kind of regressed socially from that standpoint because I'm just so comfortable at home with Haley and the dogs, and the World Championships were going on. I said hello to a few people, and I wanted to participate in the entire event, but man, I just my skin starts crawling because I just feel a lot of pressure to talk to everybody, and I just kind of crawl into my shell again. I don't know. It's a hard thing to explain, but that's just me being honest with you guys. No bullshit.
I can relate with that. I can barely keep a conversation with you, and I've known you for years.
Yeah, it's weird though because it's like I've been to so many events. I mean, I've been doing this since I was 16, and shit didn't really start popping off for me until I was like 18, 19, early 20s with Optic and everything. But it's just never gotten really any easier. I don't like going to cons. I don't like going to the big E3s. All this. It's just too much. Like it's just fucking system overload. There's just so many what do you call it?
Sensations.
Yes, there's
sensory overload.
Oh, brother, my anxiety just skyrockets, which I don't
glizzy overdrive.
Yeah, the glizzy. Yeah, that guy's hilarious. That guy is hilarious.
But I felt myself going into glizzy overdrive. I had to get out of there before it got triggered.
But knowing you, it's also like you want to have genuine connections or like genuine conversations with people, and you just can't when there's literally 500 people standing in line to talk to you, right? Then it just takes off some of that authentic connection that you have with people, right? So I get that. I do not envy your position. Thankfully, almost no one recognizes me or want to have a conversation with me if they do.
They don't like the milkman?
Not the most popular boat in the harbor.
Bro, even Haley signed up backpack, took some photos. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, we got to...
I took a couple pics too.
Did you? Wow, Joe.
Damn.
I was like, I'm not the guy, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
Turn me up.
You just have like such an inviting face.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're just so genuinely positive and happy to look at. It's hard to be in a bad mood if you just lock eyes with you.
Hey, we can't be handing out all these compliments on this podcast.
Jacob, you got AC? You got AC in your place? You got room in your bed, baby?
Come on through.
Whoa!
The butter hole is ready.
Milk me up, baby. There's like, it was funny though. There was one. Let the boys play. There was one kid though. He's like 18. He's like, "Oh, dude, like I love your blue chews takes." I'm like, "You're not taking them, are you? You're not taking them yet, right?" He's like, "Oh no." I'm like, "All right, good. Don't be taking ED."
How old was he?
He's like 18, 19.
Yeah, brother. Keep the blue chews for the 30-year-olds, dude.
Yeah.
We need that supply and demand.
Simple equation: supply and demand. Yeah.
Business ethics. All right, well, we've been going for a while. It's 9:42. It's probably like a 2-hour podcast.
The 5. Okay, that's not to joke about the situation, but 5 guard players like respond on Twitter like, "Lee, I challenge you to an academic decathlon for re-entry. 1-on-1 mano-y-mano." Sorry, Billy Madison take, whatever.
That's Billy Madison? No way, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy, right?
You guys are like the guys from Suits, Harvey and what's his face? just constantly throwing movie quotes out that no one else gets.
No. He does the movie quotes. I mean, I'm not even kidding. I think it's in his everyday agenda to quote Billy Madison once a day.
It's just
I haven't even seen it. But there you go.
All right, we're not fucking with the Milkman no more.
nah.
Billy,
I think
you
it's
haven't
the
seen
only
Billy
Too many
Madison?
butter holes.
It's the only Adam
Take it up
Sandler
with
movie
Bro,
I
I'll
haven't
tell you
watched.
what, I'm about to go to the fucking U.S. Department of Homeland Security and tell them that this man's trying to get a green card, but he hasn't seen like the most American Adam Sandler movie of all time.
Sure,
Brother,
tax
that's
evasion
more
would be.
important than knowing what happened in 1776.
Sure, tax evasion would be a reason for deportation.
Fuck the Constitution, bro. Billy Madison needs to be in there.
I'll watch it. I'll come over prior to 8:30.
Seriously.
Back to school.
All right, guys. Well, you know what? If there's anything that I've learned about talking about serious topics on this podcast is maybe we should gently roll into them over time, because for the last 2 episodes, I was just so excited to get into the heavy shit right away, but we really started warming up halfway through. And to be honest with you, I wish we would have talked about Leo, the guard, and Riot and Valorant.
We can revisit it and edit it in if you want.
Should we redo it?
I'm down.
Let the boys play. That's all I'm saying. All right? Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We know we hit you with a lot. Juvee, Peachy MangoPuff, 100 Thieves, Higround, DBZ, Apparel. We did the block party. That was awesome. Juvee Canada, number one energy drink, first day launch. That was just
Canada.
Oh, wait. Oh, Canada, our home and native land. True. I don't know. That 70s show.
Shout out Canada.
Shout out
album.
Canada. All right, guys, that's enough. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Shout out to Jacob for coming on. He was very rational and logical throughout this
Sorry for
entire
being contrarian.
podcast. Shout out the Milkman. All right, we hope you guys have a great day. And Twitch TV, YouTube, fucking YouTube, fucking Spotify, all the things. I hope you
Apple.
guys have a good one. I said that 3 times now. See you later. Goodbye.